All right, guys, there's been a lot happening, and welcome back to another portal update. We'll start off with who's already been on campus or coming in and out as of right now. Pearson Toomey, offensive lineman from Furman, was here yesterday. He was actually here 2 days and left yesterday. They are recruiting him as a guard. He did play tackle at Furman, but with two guards leaving to the portal or the draft, they are recruiting him as a guard for Florida State. This is one that I think he really liked it, but they told him to go keep enjoying his other visits. It's very dependent on other recruitments as of now. And it depends on how much they're going to push for offensive lineman from Alabama, Terrence Ferguson, who just arrived on campus a few hours ago. I think this is one that Florida State would want over Toomey. And it just depends on what the push is and what the interest level is there before we can really make a decision on whether or not Toomey's going to be a Florida State take or if we can get Ferguson. But other than that, Toomey, again, the visit went really well. He said he was going to South Carolina right after the Florida State visit. He also stated NC State and Duke as two places he could potentially visit before he makes a decision this weekend. And now we'll move on to another person who actually arrived late last night. We saw him at Moore earlier this morning. Is Earl Little Jr., DB from Alabama as well. This guy is very good. He didn't get much playing time at Alabama, but the talent is there. He was a 4-star out of high school. Florida State heavily recruited him. This is another one of those guys that when he came out of high school, the product for Florida State just wasn't there, right? Like they just weren't good yet. Now you're coming off a 10-win season and a 13-0 season. It's much more comfortable, or kids are much more comfortable in giving FSU a true look, even though FSU was in his top 3, top 2 when he came out of high school, but now they have that extra push they can make with being a good team. Like I said, he arrived late last night. He is currently on campus now. It looked like he was having a good time from the little bit we saw him come in and out. The connections here are the biggest part. Pat Surtain was his coach in high school. Obviously, this is still his first year at Florida State, or his first year is coming to an end at Florida State for Pat Surtain. And you have Marvin Jones Jr., FSU's portal commit off the edge, was also on that American Heritage team with Earl Little and with Pat Surtain. So those connections are huge in this recruitment here. I feel it's inevitable that the visit will go well just because of all the connections. We could even saw a little bit of Earl Little Sr. and Pat Surtain talking. Again, Michael said this last night. This has the feeling of when Marvin Jones Jr. entered the portal, where Florida State's in a very good spot. And we still think they're in a good spot, and hopefully we'll get to find out more about that tomorrow when he leaves his visit. Other than that, the linebackers also did leave just now today. Charlotte linebacker Nakai Hill-Green and Syracuse linebacker Stephon Thompson. They both declined interviews while walking out or leaving Moore today. But from what we've heard, the visits are going very well all on that front. We will probably find out more later tonight, as Michael will probably post nuggets as we hear more and more about the visit. Obviously, we just don't know a whole lot since they didn't talk to us afterwards. Now, for the running backs, this has kind of gotten a little interesting. We've mentioned Jalen Lucas a lot. He's expected to come this weekend to take a visit. But another one that has joined the chat, per se, is Penny Boone. He announced his top 3 schools last week, or Pete Nakos reported his top 3 schools last week were Louisville, Kentucky, and Florida State. I believe he is on Louisville's campus right now, and he is expected at Florida State this weekend. Kentucky has not scheduled a visit with him yet, and he's very good. He won MAC Player of the Year, or Offensive Player of the Year at Toledo this past year, rushed for over 1,000 yards. He originally committed to Maryland, I believe, out of high school and was a 4-star. Very good player. This would be a great addition to the running back room if Florida State can close the deal. Now, after that, you have Junkins from Ole Miss, who has not officially entered yet, but he has announced his intentions to enter the portal. This kid is probably the best running back in college football right now, not just in the portal, but overall in the whole sport. In just 2 years at Ole Miss, he's already in their record books. After 1 year, he was already a top 20 rusher in Ole Miss history. He had over 1,000 yards. He was second in the SEC just to the Mizzou running back in rushing yards. He is very good. And the good part here is he had a previous relationship with running backs coach at Florida State, David Johnson. I expect Florida State to capitalize on that previous relationship. I would not be surprised to see him visit Florida State very quickly once he officially enters the portal. Where this makes the running back situation interesting is I don't think Florida State will take all three of those running backs, Lucas, Boone, and Judkins, if given the chance. I think Lucas is a take no matter what, or at least I feel that way, just because he also has the kickoff return side of him where he's very good in that regard. He's had multiple kickoff return touchdowns in his time at Indiana. And I think they only want one true pure running back, which means if Judkins does get into the fold and we do see a push for him, you're going to see a choice come down between Boone and Judkins. Uh, I think Judkins out of those two has to be the take just because he is one of the best running backs in college football, and everyone knows that, and it's obvious. He was a force for Ole Miss. A lot of people were surprised when he entered the portal. A lot of people also thought this was an NIL thing. I don't really know. I'm not here to say why he left Ole Miss. All I know is there are connections with Florida State, and there is a chance for him to visit once he enters the portal. Next, we go on to the defensive line. I know a lot of you guys want to know about that because with front seven recruiting. So we have one person that we know for sure is coming today, and that is Grady Kelly from Colorado State. He is originally from Navarre, Florida, so a panhandle kid close to home. He was a freshman All-American back in 2022. In 2023, he had 35 total tackles and 1.5 sacks. And in his freshman or redshirt freshman season in 2022, he had 43 tackles and 1 sack. He's proven to be pretty good at Colorado State. He is supposed to be on campus as we record this, arriving either already arrived or is arriving very shortly. And it'll be interesting to see how that visit goes. I expect him to leave tomorrow as well. The other one is West Virginia defensive lineman Tomiwa Doruje. That is probably a complete butchered pronunciation, but I tried my best. Another guy who's very good. I believe he was originally at Kentucky. He's expected to arrive on campus late tonight. Again, we're going to keep seeing these defensive line guys come in. Obviously, Florida State did miss on Nick Scorton to Texas A&M. When I first mentioned him in a video about a week ago now, I did say to watch out for A&M. Bryant, College Station is literally a town inside Bryant just for the university. And, they didn't get him on campus first, which was very important in this situation. But we still have we have defensive linemen that do keep coming. There's also another one from Michigan State who was reported by Pete Nakos earlier today that is supposed to be arriving on campus at Florida State on Friday as well. And that is Zion Young from Michigan State. He's expected on campus. He is another edge rusher. Florida State has brought in and looked at a lot of edge rushers so far, and you're getting to that point where you're going to have to take one more. Michael has said that we want to take probably at least one, if not two more edge rushers, especially with Gilbert Edmond from Florida State now hitting the portal. Lastly, is just wide receivers. LSU wide receiver Jaylen Brown, who didn't get much playing time. He's leaving LSU after only a year in Baton Rouge. This is a guy that, once again, was heavily recruited by Florida State coming out of high school. He has a close relationship with a lot of the staff. This one, we do have to treat more like a high school recruit, in my opinion, just because it's so soon out of college. He's still not very experienced, but it makes up for missing on someone like Jeremiah Smith in the 2024 cycle, because now you're getting a second chance at this wide receiver you really wanted in 2023, and he can come back and be a big part of your team. I do think Florida State's in a very good spot here. They're already gaining momentum. I think he's also another guy that has a good shot to show up this weekend, even though it is not planned currently. Jabari Barber is another one that we are expecting this weekend, wide receiver from Troy. He had nearly 1,000 yards on the season. If I remember right, it's like 999 or 98, something that close. And he is very good. I do think Florida State will take 3 receivers, or will look to take 3 receivers, and people like Jaylen Brown, Jabari Barber, and then the other kid who we've talked about a little bit, Evan Stewart. He is at Oregon right now, but I still do think there's a chance he shows up at Florida State this weekend. That is someone who, obviously, former 5-star, I think the best, if not second best player in the portal right now, and would be huge to get him on campus. But that is all we got. Again, as you can tell, busy weekend, as this is the longest portal update video we have had. Expect more to come. It's going to keep rolling into the weekend and maybe a little bit after. We will see. Thank you, guys.